In this lecture, we're going to see how to use QPROPERTY to propagate changes automatically between C++ and QML. So far, what we've been able to do to transfer data between C++ and QML is one, to be able to call a C++ method from QML, and two, to be able to capture a C++ signal in QML. In this lecture, we're going to make things flow more automatically. To put things in context, let's talk about the problem that we are trying to solve here. Let's say we have a movie class and it has two fields. One is the main character, which is a string, and the other is a title for the movie, which is a string also. We want to expose these pieces of data in our movie class to QML and make the changes flow automatically. So if we change the main character in C++, QML is going to know automatically, and if we happen to change the same data in QML, C++ is going to know automatically. QProperties allow you to build something like this. And all you have to do is wrap your fields in QProperties like this. And QProperty is a mechanism that is used outside the scope of passing information between QML and C++. But in this course, we are only going to cover how QProperties apply to passing data back and forth between QML and C++. We're not going to go any further. If you are interested, you can search in the documentation and you're going to find tons and tons of information on how this works. So the way you do that, you specify QProperty, you pass in the data type for your field, you pass in the name of your field, and you specify methods that you are going to use to manipulate this field. You provide a getter method that is flagged by the read string here, a setter method that is flagged by the write string here, and a notify method that is going to be the signal that you emit anytime something changes about the field here. And you see the setter and getter methods here, and you see the signals implemented here. And one other thing you should know, we are going to expose this class as a context property, and we are going to have things wired automatically for us. Okay, we just talked about the C++ side of things. How do things look on the QML side? Where on QML, things look pretty normal. There is no sign that you are really dealing with the C++ method. All you have to do is read the property. You see here we are reading the title, and down here we are reading the main character. This is how you access the properties. And whenever you do something like this, when you say text equals movie.title, the getter for the class is going to be called. And when you want to set the properties, it really is the same thing you've been doing in QML all along. For example, here we want to change the title of the movie. We say movie title equals the text that we are getting from the text field here. It really is very simple. All you have to do is do all the wiring on the C++ side, and you can use your fields in QML very flawlessly. Right now, we're going to go to Qt Creator and play with this. Okay, here we are in Qt Creator. We're going to create our project. It's a Qt Quick application, an empty one. We're going to call it QProperty Automatic Connect Demo. Save it in the usual location, hit next, choose your Qt version. We're going to choose our kit here and finish. We are going to create our movie class. It's a C++ class, and we are going to call it movie. How creative. It's going to inherit QObject, hit next and finish. We have our class here. So what we want to do is to define our first QProperty macro here. So we're going to say QProperty, and you see that Qt is going to autocomplete for you. Click here, and don't do anything yet. I want you to type the data type for the property that you want to put in here. It's going to be a QString in my case, and hit tab. You see that it's going to move to the next piece of data. I am going to call this main character. And you see that the other fields are automatically updated for me. This is Qt Creator trying to help you out. You can click enter and you're going to see that everything is going to be generated for you. I'm going to close the pane here so that you see the entire thing. I am going to define my other Q property. The data type is going to be QString. The name is going to be title, which is going to be the title of my movie here. I am going to hit enter, and you see that the getter, the setter, and the signal for notifying are generated for me. The next thing we want to do is to generate all these methods. We need to generate the getter that is here, the setter that is here, the signal that is here, and do the same thing for the title field that we have here. You can do all this manually, but Qt Creator has a way to help you out. You right click on the property like this, hit refactor, and click generate missing Q property members. And when you do that, the first thing I want you to see is that the data field is generated for you, but it is generated in a bad place. I am going to fix this in a minute. We also have the getter. We also have the setter, which is a public slot. This is okay. We also have a signal generated for us. Now I want to fix this class a little bit. I am going to put in a private section and move my field in the private section of my class. I am going to move the definition for these methods in the TPP file. The way I do that, Qt Creator is also going to help me out. I click on the method, refactor, move definition in CPP file, select this. Do the same thing for the setter method, refactor, move definition. I go back to the header file. There are a few things I still need to do. I don't like to put the setter method in the public slot. You can leave it here if you want, but I am going to move it back in the public section of the class, and things are going to be a little bit neater like this for me. Right now, we have the methods generated for the main character property. We want to do the same thing for the title here. Right-click property, generate missing Q property members. We are going to have everything generated for us. This time, the title field is generated in the private section. This is what we want. All we have to do now is move the definitions in the CPP file. Let's do that. And we need to move the setter for our title in the public section of the class. And by now, our class is really ready to communicate with QML. We should go to main and include QML context to be able to expose this to QML. We should include our movie class as well. We create an instance of the movie class. Let's call it movie. And we expose the instance as a context property. This is easy to do now. We say engine, root context, set context property. We call it movie. We are going to use movie to access properties of the movie in QML. And we pass the address of the movie object that we just created here. Now we can go to QML and consume the data that we have in C++. We change the title to say QPROPERTY demo. I want to put in a column component, set the spacing to something like 20, and put in two text elements in which we are going to read the main character and the title of the movie. This is going to say title ID for the ID. The text is going to be movie title. You see that the property is already available in QML. We also want to set up a few things. We want to make the font a little bit bigger. So we're going to say font point size. Let's make it 20. We want to give it a width of 500 and put it in the center of the parent. We are going to say anchors horizontal center. Horizontal center. This is going to be okay. I am going to put in another text component, but it is going to be for the main character. Main car ID, and here we're going to say main character to read the property inside QML. Now that I do this, I notice that I didn't set the title and the main character to our object. There are two ways I can do this. I can come to C++ and initialize these two data fields here. Let's do this actually. It is always a good idea to initialize your variables. So I am going to say m title and say movie title. And m main character. Just like this, we can read these pieces of data in QML. If we run the application, we are going to see the data that we just set in C++. Let's run the application and see what we get. Okay, you see that we get movie title, main character, the default values that we have in our initializer list in the movie class. We can go back to the main CPP file and actually change this. We're going to say movie, set title. Let's say Titanic. Everybody knows this movie. And say movie, set main character and say Leonardo. If we run the application, we are going to see the new data set. The movie is going to say Titanic, and the actor or the main character is going to be Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay, we have this. To actually show you that our getters are being called in QML, let's go to movie CPP, include QDebug, and in the getter, we are going to say getting the title, QDebug, and we are going to do the same thing for the main character. And we are going to put the same debug messages when we set something. So we're going to say setting the main character here and setting the title here. And if we run the application, we should see the getter methods being called. Actually, the setter methods are also being called because we are setting them when we initialize the application. You see, we set title, set main character. The get methods are being called when QML reads this. And the QML engine is reading this for us. And that's why we see that the getter methods are being called here. I hope this makes sense. Okay, now I want to import Qt Quick controls because I am going to use a few buttons shortly. I am going to go down in this column component, and down below I am going to put in a row component, Control A, Control I to align. I have a text field that is saying nothing for now. It is going to be used to capture data from the user. And we have a button that says change title, and we are going to use this button to capture the text that is in this field here and use the text to change the title of the movie. So what we're going to basically say, we're going to say movie title equals title text field ID here, text. Okay, we assign that to the movie title. And this is going to call the setter for us. I want to do the same for the main character, so I am basically going to copy this row component. By the way, I am not explaining because this is self-explanatory if you took some course on Qt Quick. And if you are rusty on Qt Quick, you should check out one of my previous courses on Qt Quick. Okay, here I am going to say main character text field. Let's say main car. This is going to do. I am going to call this button 1 for the title, and the second one is going to be button 2. just to make them a little bit different. This is going to say change main character. And we're going to say movie main character equals, why not copy this? It's going to be a little bit faster. So what is going to happen? We are going to be able to change the title and the main character fields of the movie object from QML. Let's run the application. You see that we have our UI components. We have the title, we have the main character. Let's say I want to change the title of the movie to Frantic. If I change the title, you see that we are setting the title and the title changes here. We can also change the main character. Let's say Daniel, for example, and change the main character to Daniel. And you see that we are able to set things from QML. And if you look in the debug output here, you see that we are setting the main character and reading the main character again. So what is happening here? We are changing the main character, and in the movie CPP file, the setter for the main character is this one. We are changing it. We are emitting the signal for main character. And because the component here is bound to the movie title, this is a property binding here in action, it is going to re-evaluate again and update the value here. That's why we are seeing the getter method called here. I hope you can see that this is pretty powerful if you expose your data like this using QProperties. And this is really all you have to do to expose your data in QML like this. You define your data fields and you wrap them in QProperties and provide the setter, getter, and signal methods as we did in this lecture here. And one thing I want you to see that I kind of forgot to tell you is that if you forget to emit the signal when you change something in your C++ class, let's say, for example, we forget to emit the signal when we change the title. Let's run the application. Okay, let's change the title to Frantic again. You see that the properties that are bound to the title here are not being updated because we are not emitting this signal when we change something in the C++ class. So be careful to remember to emit the signals when you change properties that are bound to in QML. This is something very important to remember. Let's run the application again, change the title to Frantic again, and you see that the updates are propagating correctly right now. This is all for this lecture. In the next one, we're going to see how you can use context objects to propagate the same things from C++ to QML. I'll see you in the next lecture.